Hey, gang, the Excite Center at Parks Casino, the casino of choice for the Michael Smerconish program. You know that. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Pennsylvania's #1 casino is so close to anywhere. Street Road exit off I-95 and the Pennsylvania Turnpike, less than 2 hours from New York City, Brooklyn, Staten Island, all these places. You can get there easily. The Excite Center is where they put the headliners. Tickets on sale now for so many great acts that are upcoming. The acapella sounds of Straight No Chaser. I love that name. October 24, the return of R&B Queens TLC. Comedian Michael Blaustein is coming October 25th. November 1st, Invincible. That's a tribute to Michael Jackson. November 14, Ezra Ray Hart, the lead singers from Sugar Ray, Better Than Ezra, and Tonic join together for an incredible night. November 23rd, comedian Steve Trevino. December 6th, The Homecoming Show, Patti LaBelle. Comedian Eric D'Alessandro, December 14. Dinner, drinks, gambling, everything under one roof. ParksCasino.com. That's where you go for tickets to all shows. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You've got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Time now for the headlines from the Monday edition of the newsletter. There's a lot of good political data reflected in today's newsletter and that which has been in several days of newsletters, meaning over the weekend. But let me begin with this. From NBC News comes the report that Donald Trump has pulled 5 points forward. It's neck and neck, but he's gained 5. It's now Harris 48, Trump 48 from NBC News. Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris deadlocked in the latest national NBC News poll, with Trump bolstered by Republicans coming back home to support him after last month's rough debate and a subsequent polling deficit, as well as by a favorable voter assessment of Trump's term as president. These are among the findings of this new survey just released. We're 3 weeks out from the election, 3 weeks from tomorrow, which also shows Harris's popularity declining compared to a month ago. I mean, I've been talking about this. He's had a rough and tumble, dark 7 weeks. And yet, he seems to be doing better. He seems to be doing better. In the new poll conducted October 4 through 8, Harris gets support from 48% of registered voters in a head-to-head matchup. Trump gets an identical 48%. Another 4% say they're undecided or wouldn't vote for either option. But here's the big takeaway. Not that it's neck and neck, because you know that from so many other surveys. It's that this represents a change from September, which found that Harris was leading by 5. So Donald Trump has picked up 5 points according to NBC and Harris and this survey. Now, here's another poll finding. I know some of you don't like when I talk about all the data, but how the hell could I not talk about all the data when we're so close and everybody wants to know who's going to win? This is from ABC News now. ABC News with a brand new survey showing that dreary economic attitudes and sharply divergent views on social policies mark the 2024 presidential election, contributing to a tighter contest between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump. Just 2 percentage points now divide the two of them. In this survey, it's Harris 50 and it's Trump 48. But that's not what I find to be so significant about this poll. Instead, and for the benefit who are watching on YouTube, if you take a look at the state of the nation's economy, 23% say things are getting better. 18% say things are staying the same. However, a growing number, 59%, say the economy is getting worse. And Trump is still favored by those who are economically inclined in the election. Say it more simply, Michael. Okay, more simply, the worse the perception of the economy might be, the better it is for Donald Trump. So if I go back to where we were in that prior data, where I said Trump has gained 5 points according to NBC, what could account for that? An increasing perception that the state of the economy is in decline. So a combination of those factors, significant. Now I want to go to more data. This is from Pew Research. Pew Research, what do they report? With just weeks until Election Day, Vice President Harris, former President Trump, in a dead heat among all registered voters, 48 one way, 47 the other way, same as the other data. right? Same as ABC, same as NBC. Everybody is saying the same thing. But here's what I find most significant about this poll. And it is the fact that according to Pew, only 13% say they can be persuaded. And frankly, I'm a little shocked at that number. 42% say they are certain about their support for Harris. 40% say they are certain about their support for Trump. 5% say they support Chase Oliver, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jill Stein, or Cornel West. Roughly 1 in 10 say they are likely to support or lean toward supporting Harris or Trump. 13% can be persuaded, only 13%. Is that really true? More data. Is your head about to explode from all the data? I have more data now that I wish to share with you, and it is this. Since we were last together, it's the New York Times and Siena College and the Philadelphia Inquirer have released polling. Nate Cohn's analysis from the New York Times is something that we feature in the newsletter, which I'm showing on the screen for the benefit of those who are watching on YouTube. It's Nate Cohn trying to explain the disconnect where Harris is doing well now in Pennsylvania, according to this survey. She has pulled away a little bit from Trump, but in Arizona, it's the complete opposite. And Nate Cohn, who does the numbers analysis for the New York Times, very bright guy, does good work, I think, is trying to explain how could both be true? How could Donald Trump be doing better in Arizona, Kamala Harris doing better in Pennsylvania? And I'll cut it short and tell you he really doesn't have an explanation. He really doesn't have a cogent answer. A little bit of what he writes. One was Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris led by 4 percentage points. This is the brand new survey, making it her best result in the battlegrounds. It was our only state poll conducted immediately after the debate, when her supporters might have been especially excited to respond to a poll. The other was Arizona. Trump led by 5 points, making it his best result among the battlegrounds. Even stranger, it was a huge swing from our previous poll of the state, in which Harris led by 5. In both cases, it seemed possible that another survey would yield a significantly different result. With that in mind, we decided to take an additional measure of Arizona and Pennsylvania before the final poll at the end of the month. And the result was the same. And Nate Cohn says, it's not what I expected, and I really can't answer as to what would account for the split between Arizona and Pennsylvania. Remember, I told you that James Carville was my guest about a week ago on CNN. And in talking about the 7 battleground states, in talking about Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, where they're all within the margin of error, it was Carville's opinion that somebody's going to break away, that it's going to probably be somebody getting 5 of the states and somebody else getting 2 of the states, or maybe even 6 and 1, not 4 and 3. I point that out as I look at this because, this split between Arizona and Pennsylvania speaks to what Carville was getting at. What I found most interesting, remember I said that according to Pew Research, 13%, only 13% stand to be persuaded. In the New York Times, Siena College, Philadelphia Inquirer data, which shows now Harris, there it is, 50.4, Trump 46.7, only 3%, I think this is closer to the truth. I don't think it's 13% who are able to be persuaded. In this survey, it says only 3% have not yet decided, but are voting. Connor Lamb and Charlie Dent, 2 former members of Congress, were each my guest on CNN on Saturday. I was thrilled to have them. Connor Lamb, a D, Charlie Dent, an R, different halves of the state, Dent to the east, Connor Lamb to the west. And it was interesting to speak to the 2 of them about what's going on. The one thing we all agreed on, look at Northampton County in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania and Erie, home of Steve Scully, in the northwest corner of Pennsylvania. And if you know who wins Erie and Northampton County, then you probably know who's going to win the election. Interesting groups being tracked: Hispanics, as well as working class whites, to see which way they're going to go, as well as men of color. We had a story yesterday leading Smerconish.com about President Obama essentially, taking on misogyny and saying to black men in Pittsburgh, why wouldn't you vote for Kamala Harris? Okay, more now analysis, more headlines from the Monday edition of the newsletter. I've been hitting you with lots of polling data, and now I come to this. I'm sorry if I'm overwhelming you with all the polling data, but I think that it's really interesting and so many different things have come out. Wait until you hear this. So just a very quick refresher, The race is neck and neck. The race is in the national poll. They are neck and neck. They are somewhere at 48-48, somewhere at 50-50. In the battleground states, it's all within the margin of error. However, and now this is a USA Today analysis, which shows that Donald Trump is running better, according to the data, in this campaign than at this point in 2020 or this point in 2016. And it raises the question of whether polling errors in the prior two cycles have been fixed. Because if not, and if the polls today contain the error that they contained in the last two cycles, then Trump is in a very comfortable position. And this is what has Democrats so concerned. From the USA Today story, if polls are any guide, and there are many questions about them, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is in better shape now than he was at this point in 2020 and in winning in 2016. Yes, Trump trails Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris in most polls, but the all-important caveat is that he's down against the incumbent vice president by smaller margins than he faced in his final two general elections, both of which saw him score higher with actual voters than the ones who responded to pollsters. Certainly, Republicans are counting on what some pollsters have called the hidden Trump vote, although pollsters also say there's no certainty that that group exists. During a rally last week, Reading, Pennsylvania, Trump claimed to have a poll showing him up 3 in the Keystone State, which he said probably means 10. So, as I'm showing now for the benefit of our YouTube viewers, and please follow the YouTube channel, where are we now in the national polls? This has Harris up over Trump by 1.8. At this point, and the date was actually October 10. Today's the 14th, but on October 10th of this cycle, it was Harris plus 1.8. Okay, I want to make this real clear. If you go back to October 10 of 2016, at this point, it was Hillary Clinton up 5.8, up 5.8. And in the end, it was Hillary plus 2. If you take a look at the cycle where it was Joe Biden, let me just see if I have that in front of me as well. I know that I do. Bear with me. Here we go. At this time 4 years ago, Democratic nominee Joe Biden had a lead of 10.3. 10.3. And in the end, he won he won by 4. So if Harris is up 2, Hillary was up close to 6. Biden was up close to 10. And we know what happened in the end in each of those elections. That's got people very, very concerned. From the USA Today analysis, it has Democrats concerned. Republicans, thrilled at the prospect. During this cycle, pollsters have changed their methodologies, in part to account for the hidden Trump voters, including people who plan to vote for him but don't want to say it publicly, or other supporters who are hard to find via traditional polling methods like telephone calls. Also, different groups of voters are showing more signs of increased participation in the election because of new issues, from anti-abortion laws to the rising cost of living. Frank Luntz says there are fundamentals in question that no one can answer until election day. So there it is. That's where the race stands as best we can. The national polls, obviously less important than the state polls, but a really interesting barometer. Donald Trump, say it simply, Michael, okay? Donald Trump outperformed his national polling in 2016 and in 2020. And where we are today, if it's the same, Kamala Harris's margin is not what she needs it to be. And again, we don't elect by the national vote, but just tracking where was Hillary and where was Joe Biden. That's the state of the race as of right now. One more story, if I may. I got to leave you on something uplifting and happy. How about animals? Because we've just spent a lot of time talking about Hurricane Milton. And there was a story in the Washington Post talking about how farm animals were able to survive Milton. Do you know how they were able to survive? By being outside and not being in a building that can collapse and not being around trees that can fall and hurt them. I love this story. As Hurricane Milton was fast approaching, Sarah Weldon and her husband, Rick Bass, made a decision. They would not leave the animals. The couple who live on a small farm in Claremont, Florida, between Tampa and Orlando, that I-4 corridor, rode out the storm on their 7-acre property with their farm animals. They have 10 donkeys, 9 cows, 4 goats, 1 cat, 6 dogs, and 100 chickens. We raised every animal since they were babies. They are basically our children. Their home was not in a mandatory evacuation zone. They knew it would be safer to leave the state, but they couldn't leave the animals. Long story short, they got hundreds of offers from farm owners all across the country because they're active in social media. What are you going to do about all the farm animals? They filled up their bathtubs in their home with water. They bought plenty of supplies to keep ahead of the storm. They put all the animals outside and then watched as the pack of donkeys were huddled together in an effort to break the incoming wind of the storm. Quote, the animals are safest out in the pasture because if they were in the barn, they could get trapped or hit with a fallen tree. After the storm passed, they were relieved. All the animals were accounted for. Bottom line, animals are smarter than we are. They probably knew that it was coming even before we did. Finally, shout out for Anthony Steele of Knoxville, Tennessee, because Anthony, it was your poll question that I used on CNN on Saturday. We had 47,457 who voted on the Saturday poll question. It's the other one, PJ. Which is a more potent election emotion, hope or fear? 59.42% said fear, 40.58% said hope. Then came, well, this was on the heels of the other Friday poll question. That's what you were showing before. Is the dark tone of Trump's campaign a deliberate campaign strategy or the result of impulsivity? 54.26% of us said it's deliberate, what he's doing. Put all of this together, and you could say on this day, as we go into the final 3 weeks, that Trump has gained ground with an increasingly dark message because fear works. Go vote on today's poll question at Smerconish.com. If Kamala Harris loses, if she loses, I'm not saying she will, if she does, why will that be the case? Will it be the case because Joe Biden got out late, because there's a failure to differentiate from Biden, misogyny, racism, media coverage of Trump, not picking Shapiro to control the campaign, electoral college, or the presence of Jill Stein? Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. See ya.